I'm going to bring this book up to you tonight, and I'll read a couple parts out of it. But it's The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, and it's actually a bit of an old book. I think it's from 2020. I don't remember the date when she actually wrote this book. Um, yeah, 2019. So at the beginning of COVID, this book was already printed. I'm going to read a couple of parts out of it. If you know, as I love pictures. What the hell is that? Anybody there? Not saying there's people there. Say hello. The moat around the castle. I'm going to give you the scoop on what's really happening here tonight. Um, this whole thing with surveillance capitalism, it's the measurement of everything, right? They're literally measuring everything, and we are giving it to them. You know, I'm doing it right now. You guys are doing the same thing. Hi, Montana Max. Uh, and I can see the comments. What's up, all? Steph K joined. Living Lucid. I like it. Heller. Sounds a bit southern. So, discovery of behavioral surplus. So, this, again, this is all about just analytics and digitized data gathering and collection and all of COVID from the start until now. Same. That's the whole thing. That's what the whole thing has been about. I'm sure all you guys know that, but what you probably don't know is how long they've been doing this. So one thing you should take notes on and look up, make sure you do, look up Operation LAC. It was large area coverage. This is like right after or right during the usurpation of the United States by Zionism, and that was where World War II ended and Operation Paperclip came into effect. Um, the whole NASA thing being started up the way that it did, all of these things all happen in succession right at one time, universal student. So Zionism is what generated the whole idea of the globe Earth. You don't have to agree with me on the Earth being flat, right? But the people that have pushed the Earth being a globe have always been from one particular party in the world, right? And that's the whole Zionist crew, Jesuit order, whatever you want to call it, Jews. It's not that it's Jews, it's secular Jews, which are actually Jesuits, But the real Jews always seem to get the rap on the whole thing. Not to say that I align with the religious beliefs of any Abrahamic religion at this point in my life. I think that they're all brain bent idiots at this part. At this stage. If you're watching all this shit happen in the world and you're not ready to like lock arms with whoever the hell is next to you against the people doing all this shit, spraying you with stuff, then there's something really, really wrong with you at this point. I don't care who it is. I don't care if they're black, green, yellow, orange, came out of the fucking swamp. I don't care where they're from. At this point in the world, we should all be working together to get these assholes, whoever you want to call them, out of any type of control over whatever your life is. So they're spraying this shit today, and I noticed when they spray those lines that dissipate more quickly than the other ones, I always end up with a migraine. So I'm feeling kind of shitty today. I apologize. My tone might not be where everybody's used to it being. And see if I get some light in here. All LED, baby. Charges my graphene. Why does my head look lopsided in this camera now? This is weird. So, you could take a screenshot of this and I'll read it off to you real quick. It's surveillance capitalism begins with the discovery of behavioral surplus. More behavioral data are rendered than required for service improvements. The surplus feeds machine intelligence, the new means of production that fabricates predictions of user behavior. These products are sold to business customers in new behavioral futures markets. The behavioral value reinvestment cycle is subordinated to this new logic. That's all behavioral value reinvestment cycle. So, let's see. There you go. I would take a screenshot of that and see if you can blow it up and if I can get the damn thing in the center. Everything is backwards. Jesus, man, this is hard. This is not easy like it used to be. All right, there you go. So let me back up, screenshot it, blow it up, and see what you can get out of the way that that machine works. So, uh, now when you're talking about Operation LAC, what they did there was they sprayed radioactive isotopes. So radioactive is something that is activated by a radio signal or frequency. Looks like my jaw is broken too. Like, what's this? Is weird. So that's what they did then, and all these people ended up getting cancer. And it was the black population really suffered, right, more dramatically than the white population. It was in St. Louis, and I think it was in 55 or 56 or something like that. But again, it's this group that is the same people responsible for fluoride being in your water. It's them, right? Call them Zionists. I mean, what you want to call them, you call them. But after some like very diligent and in-depth reading, like this whole Jesuit order, the people that want to stay hidden, the Knights Templar or whoever, royalty, whatever they want to call themselves. The idea is to never be seen, right? It's specific. It's very specific. They don't want to be seen. And it's pretty weird how blatant the whole Jewish thing looks, right? Like they don't care, they rule everything, and that's that. They would be bringing on to themselves so much misery for the following decades, right? It's just it doesn't fit, right? The whole Jewish thing doesn't fit for me after getting into the whole Jesuit thing. So this Operation LAC thing happens. They spray a radioactive isotope, and there's AM radio waves. There's other things going on at that time, but they're doing a lot of these experiments with radio waves, frequencies. VHF, very high frequency, around that time was another one. So very high frequency. Like, again, when you talk about these pandemics that happened over the years, in the Invisible Rainbow, they bring this up where they're talking about a pandemic with every fluctuation in the Earth's natural resonant field. So what we call Schumann resonance is being disrupted or modified or modulated by increasing this frequency, or manipulating the frequency, or using that frequency to advance technology, really, right? So how the waves travel is a big thing. It's through you, whether you get that or not. I always use the example: take your key fob from your car or your truck and put it under your chin and walk far away and watch how much more distance you get out of your head being the antenna. So that just proves to you this is an RFID register, right? This is dedicated to my truck and my truck only. So the water in my brain, being electrical, is the reason that it can be amplified, that signal. So all of these things have brought some sort of illness with it, right? And that's the common house cold, AM. I'll run through the whole list here real quick, but the AM radio, Spanish flu, radar in the 30s, Sir Stephen something, whatever the hell his guy's name is in England, comes up with radar, and polio jumps up with that. But neurological problems with the brain. Why? Right? Why? Because you're introducing and you're inviting in all of these extra electrical waves. any radio wave is electrical by nature at the start of it, right? So it travels through you and your brain. Um, it's just like how a crown would work. It's just like how if I were to put an electrical device with points on it, right? And the sharper those points are, the more etheric energy I would draw down to it, right? That would grab onto a charge. So ambient electrical energy, so radio frequency being the same thing. That's basically all an antenna is basically just something like that, right? So your head is that. As etheric energy travels around you, it's your head is the highest place on your body. It's the first place to grab it out of the sky because you're a hyperconductor. The water in your body is a hyperconductor. So, um, so that's radar, bouncing radio waves off of something and reading back what comes back at you. Then VHF through the 50s, right? Very high frequency. I think this is what happened, but I think that's where the common household flu began. You don't ever hear any mention of that in the older movies or older books. People saying they're feeling under the weather or any of that stuff. Read the Invisible Rainbow. You have to do it. It's a critical thing for these days. Why you need it is specifically because we're living in this soup of radiation, and it's not traveling stuff like nuclear pockets of whatever. Like the way they describe it all is just it's a bunch of bullshit. Uh, so then VHF goes to UHF, ultra high frequency. It's color television band. They call that the Hong Kong flu. From there, it was the cell phone. First cell phone was 1G, first generation cell phone technology. That was breast cancer. Right, we've now gone cellular, meaning intracellular, able to penetrate the skin, get into the body, manipulate the outcomes of cellular activity. Um, so that was 1G. Breast cancer thing pops up after that. The microwaves come out with it at the same time. Spandex pants get real popular in the trends. Um, but diabetes right there at the same time starts going crazy, as well as dementia, Alzheimer's, and all these other things, man. So, hi, Blue Jay, how are you? Um, so now that you have this stuff going on in the 80s, I was alive for that, right? Right. I watched like the breast cancer, it's going to kill everybody. And I'm just like, as a little kid, I didn't really make that much of a difference. I'm like, what the hell? I don't have breasts. I'm not going to have to worry about it. Um, but ever since microwave ovens came out for commercial, for residential use inside the home, um, diabetes has doubled every year since. It started off at like, I think it was 5,800 children or something at the time in the United States had type 2 diabetes, but it has doubled every year since. Like, let's just say that's 1980. In the first, all right, so you've got, let's just say it's 5,000 just to make the math easy, right? 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, 80,000. All right, so let's do it again. 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, 80,000, 160,000. Right? That's 6 years. 320,000, um 640,000, right? Now you're climbing into the millions. That's from microwave ovens in your house. Microwaves being used regularly, right? In the McDonald's, in the Burger King, right? Sucking the nutrients out of the food, affecting the body with radiation and all that stuff, creating a breakdown in the pancreas. So just like trees can't defend themselves now from radiation from 5G towers, like being able to generate a pheromone that would keep would be parasites off of the tree by generating a pheromone that would make itself distasteful. Like the grass is an analogy that I use. Cows eating a small patch of grass and then they'll move 20 feet away because that pungent smell comes out of the grass, like when you cut it, right? But that's why cows don't eat it. The grass communicates. There's a good documentary on this called Intelligent Trees, I think is the name of it. Look that one up on YouTube. That's a good one. But it tells you about the network of mycelium and electrical conductivity under the soil due to nutrients and minerals and all kinds of stuff. It's a very, very interesting thing to find that out. It's like the forests have their own, like basically their own internet. It's crazy. Like the way that when you get to the end, you're just like, wow, man, that's wild that you could. But again, Just like the key fob works on you, right? The trees are gathering etheric energy, and same thing from ionized energy from the sun, right? So the water in the body, water in the trees, water in the plants, all of it's radio receptive. Radio receptive. So any waves that go travel through cellular eh, beings, right? Organic living things. Um, so now the pheromones for the trees, the same thing happens to the body, where that's a cellular mutation in the tree. Well, with diabetes, that's the same thing. The pancreas can no longer generate its own whatever you call it, insulin, right? To break down the sugars of the liver and all that, and so that's the problem. It's radio frequency, it's electricity that's always been the issue when it comes to diabetes. People that sit by a computer all day, every day for 35 or 45 years, "Hey, I got diabetes." It's because you're fat and you're sitting next to that desk all the time. You pencil push it or you right. No, man, it's because of the electrical radiation that they're under at all times. That's where inflammation comes from. It's from electrical radiation. That's the lights over your head. That's the receptacle next to your face while you're sleeping. So this is just the beginning portion of right what I'm about to say with all of this stuff. So now that all that stuff is already happening around, it's 1G, 2G. Once they influenced everything with 2G, that was Alzheimer's, ADHD, dementia. All this stuff happens during 2G. That was the old razor flip phones and whatnot. But if you remember the media at the time, I'm 51. I remember that time frame, and I was probably in my 20s or 30s. But anybody else around my age would remember that stuff happening. The news. Oh, Alzheimer's is coming, right? Same thing like you saw all the advertisements for COVID, right? Like it's the same kind of thing over and over and over again throughout the years, like the decades. And you just watch it now, and you're just going, "Oh my God, I can't believe." Nobody was saying anything about this way back then, which maybe they were, but people were so prone to paying attention to the news and using the news to get their information. They didn't want to hear anything else. And we're here, there, and that's where everybody's at now, even though they know something's really, really wrong. So that was 2G, yeah, dementia, Alzheimer's. Again, radioactive isotopes. What did they do with that? Right before cellular technology, you're running in with UHF and color TV and stuff through the 70s when commercial, color TVs start coming out. And they start switching over. And I was talking about this with my mom today, and she said the old beer cans and soda cans used to be made out of steel, and then they switched over to aluminum. Oh, it's lighter weight. And it does, right. Aluminum, right? How much dust is in that aluminum can before they pour whatever the soft drink or beer or whatever into that can? That's going into your body in very small particles, perhaps, right? Whatever, but you're still absorbing it. Aluminum foil takes place of tin foil. Aluminum rubber, aluminum wrappers on your bubble gum. I mean, all like it just becomes this wonder element that you could do anything with it. Like, oh, let's cut siding, and whatever awnings, and everything started coming out as aluminum, right? Well, it's not the aluminum only that's bad for you. That's the isotope. So they flush that into the commercial space where everybody's purchasing it. Oh, that aluminum stuff is supposed to last forever. It's 50 years down the road. That stuff looks like dog shit now. It's all falling apart. I'm talking on the building side of things as a carpenter. You put siding on somebody's house. Well, then it was vinyl. Why vinyl? Because vinyl entraps positive ions, positive static charge in your house. You're constantly in the kill box, right? You're constantly being ionized. There's always positive energy, never a discharge of all the negative energy, right? So you never get to run that through you. Your body being the circuit as it's designed to be, take in from the sun, put out through the earth. Like that's why the whole grounding thing is super important. But your house being enveloped in vinyl products, it's a trap for static energy. So that's 1G, 2G, 3G was the bird flu, right? The birds are all getting sick. 4G was the swine flu. They did the tests on all, but they were doing all the tests on the pigs in Sony, Ericsson, and Motorola, I think, or I can't remember the other company. Nokia, maybe. I think it was Nokia paid for the testing to be done on the pigs, and they would take the healthy pigs and put them with the sick pigs, and they would get sick, right? But it was location, is what it was. They would take the sick pigs and put them by the healthy pigs, or remove them from the site altogether, and they kept finding out that the pigs are getting sick. They knew what they were doing. Like, it's the frequency stuff, right? And I was wondering at the time. I remember because I brought that up a few times. I remember reading the newspaper articles, like the second or third page, and it said, "Look at big tech coming to the rescue. They're doing all these tests and paying for the fund. They're funding all of the testing on the swine flu. Like, how gracious of them, right? Because nobody would have ever connected it back then. So, anyway, that goes into the Boston study, and that's another. The Boston study was the thing where they took the 100 people and they split them into 3 different control groups. They tried to give Spanish flu to all of them. They breathed on the sick Spanish flu recipients. It breathed on to the 1/3 of the healthy people, trying to get them sick. The next group, they coughed in their mouths, and the third group, they extracted and injected the mucus from the nasal cavity. And none of those people out of all 100 got sick. That's the Boston study. You got to look that up. This is like 1921 or 1923 or something like that. But so they verified that basically nobody gets sick through bacteria. You really got to follow Dr. Thomas Cowan on this kind of stuff too. So, that's 3G, 4G, 5G. Now the bat's shit in somebody's cereal and everybody's going to die, So it was a bunch of bullshit, right? It's not that those animals are cross contaminating the human population. I mean, if it were bacterial, that would be something. You're talking about virus. Virus is a response. That is secondary. What's the cause? Those animals are sharing. Their cells are the same as ours, water. They're sharing the radiation zones with us, right? You do the studies on any cells, all of the cells you find are going to have that as the issue. So there's where the big lie was with COVID. And I was driving myself crazy. When I found The Invisible Rainbow as a book, I went, oh my God, this all makes so much freaking sense. But Dr. Thomas Cowan always talking about them never isolating any virus, right? They can't do it because it's exosomes. And there was actually a thing that happened throughout all of this too with the exosomes where I think it was through 3G. I don't remember the time frame, but all these microbiologists started dropping, and it was like the most dangerous job you could have. Do you ever watch like Deadliest Catch or something? These guys they're crab fishermen. It's the most dangerous job on earth. Well, these guys died at an even worse rate than them being microbiologists, but it was by all these weird methods. So they were starting to find out that the exosome was an information packet of waste that came out of the cells to communicate with the other cells in an intracellular network through the kidneys. The kidneys are the home for all of that. If you start to read into what the kidneys aren't just about urine and all that stuff. That's the messenger system for your cells. All runs out of your kidneys. Remember with COVID, everybody first thing is, oh, their kidneys shut down. Hey, graphene is in our body. Like that's the whole thing. It's how your body knows you've been poisoned with alcohol. You go and you drink a beer and you got to piss out a case immediately. Why? From a sip of beer. That's because your cells recognize the threat to them. So, that stuff's just wild, right? The exosome is what they've always called the virus. And the reason if you wanted me to clear that up a little bit, the reason they did that was because in the old still pictures of microscopy, they would take a picture and they would see this little spiked ball around all the time and say, oh, that must be the reason. That's always there whenever these people are sick with blah, 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 And so in still photos, that made sense, to a degree. Still didn't prove the cause. And then through COVID, I ended up finding a picture of it was a Chinese biologist or something, took a picture, and you could see the cell wall was left open. and the exosome was outside of it. They were pointing at it, going, "That's COVID," right? But you could see the cell wall was open, like it just ejected it out. And I'm like, why aren't they playing video, electron video microscopy of what this infectious cell eating other cells? I kept saying it over and over and over. My friends thought that I was out of my mind talking about it because that's all I posted. Like, hey, why don't they have video of what these viruses are doing? Like, aren't we in the 20? It's just it didn't make sense. So I kept on chasing it. And this is all the stuff that I ended up with, anyways. Um, so yeah, the exosome was always what they called virus, and now they won't do video microscopy, on what it actually is. So now that you have all that under your belt, and you see from that perspective, now you can say, um, well, what the fuck is really going on here? With sickness, with illness, and it's all driving narratives, driving fear. And collecting all your data on all of it now. That's the way that they're working with all of this stuff now. So um, there's a way to fight back. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways of fighting back. It's to stop feeding them your money. Stop feeding them your money. You want that new iPhone. You want the new AirPods and the big gigantic smart TV and all that. All of that stuff it all works together in this system. In this system that they're talking about, right? Markets for future behavior and all that, right? But I'll pick a couple of spots in this book and read them off to you. I'll read off what the table of contents is here. So it's August 9th, 2011, setting the stage for surveillance capitalism. 2011. Why is that? I didn't get into this book yet, by the way. I bought it and it's been sitting there. I'm way deep into the whole Egypt thing, loving it so much, but I haven't seen a comment in a while. Is there a lot of people there or no? I think I'm kind of froze up here. Maybe I'm froze up. It's not showing there's many people here at all. And I can't scroll. There we go. Oh, there we go. The whole screen was frozen there. Were you guys able to see me all that time talking? Video quality looks so much better than Facebook. Yeah, and it's backwards. It's so hard, man. This book is called The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. Very, very necessary read. I mean, I don't need to read it. I understand the way all this stuff goes, like down to the core. But it's again, it all starts at energy, frequency, and vibration. That's the beginning of it all, and that's what they're manipulating, using, monitoring, using against you. How do you move, and where do you move, and who are you next to, and all of this stuff. So it's we're way past the time when you should be doing something about it. It was like by since the 50s, like from the 50s, from 1948, when the United Nations took over and changed our Office of Strategic Services to the CIA for the international network of things. That's where it all started going bad. The creation of NASA and all that stuff. So, setting the stage for surveillance capitalism, on August 9th, 2011, three events separated by thousands of miles captured the bountiful prospects and gathering dangers of our emerging information civilization. First, Silicon Valley pioneer Apple promised a digital dream of new solutions to old economic and social problems, and finally surpassed ExxonMobil as the world's most highly capitalized corporation. Second, a fatal police shooting in London sparked extensive rioting across the city, engulfing the country in a wave of violent protests. A decade of explosive digital growth had failed to mitigate the punishing austerity of the neoliberal economics and the extreme inequality that it produced. Too many people had come to feel excluded from the future, embracing rage and violence as their only remedies. Third, Spanish citizens asserted their rights to a human future when they challenged Google by demanding the right to be forgotten. This milestone alerted the world to how quickly the cherished dreams of a more just and democratic digital future were shading into nightmare, and it foreshadowed a global political contest over the fusion of digital capabilities and capitalist ambitions. We relive that August day every day as in some ancient fable doomed to retrace the looping past until the soul of our information civilization is finally shaped by democratic action, private power, ignorance, and or drift. The Apple hack. So there's a bunch of different places in this book that I think everybody would find interesting. I'll just try and pick one that's real interesting, real quick. The moat around the castle. Millennials should have listened to the hippies, no doubt. I'm working while listening, multitasking, anti-parasitic. I don't know your real name, but I'm surprised only 14 people. That's pretty well. Maybe there's probably more. I noticed that the feed is about the same as Facebook. Following the comments and stuff, it's a lot smooth. I mean, it is a lot smoother, but they still do the shit like buffering and your connection is not that great and whatever. So these are the titles of all the chapters. In part one, the foundations of surveillance capitalism. This is August 9th, setting the stage for surveillance capitalism. The discovery of behavioral surplus, the moat around the castle, the elaboration of surveillance capitalism, kidnap, corner, and compete, hijacked, the division of learning in society. Part two, the advance of surveillance capitalism. Part seven will be the reality business rendition from experience to data. Oh, the reality business. Remember the reality TV shows? I guarantee you that's what that's about. The reality business. How many people are watching these shows, right? But being measured as they're watching the shows. Religious TV watchers. The smart TVs are all out and all that stuff at this time already. Probably that's probably what it is. The reality business rendition from experience to data. Oh, I'm gonna want to read that rendition from the depths. 10. Make them dance. 11. The right to the future tense. And that's it. But I'm going to skip by to that from rendition from experience to data. So this book was written in 2019. And I always bring up another book that you can only get in audio book now. The guy that wrote it his name was Sean Webb. It was called How Emotions Work in Humans and Computers, and it was all about the analytics of human behavior and emotion, but how to teach that to a computer through like that's what the book is about, is being able to decipher what kind of mood you're in, what kind of trends or things or behaviors you have, and how to capitalize on them, right? So the data about you is how they sell everything to you, everything, your politics, your car, your food, whatever, right? But how do they sell everything? And that was the NSA that guy worked for. So I usually get hammered when I start talking about this. My shit starts bugging out and blinking out, and everybody says, "Oh, I got kicked," and whatever. There's another. I went too far on the page, but it says instrumentarian power for a third modernity, two species of power, big other, and the rise of instrumentarian power, a utopia of certainty, the instrumentarian collective of life in the hive, and the right to sanctuary. Um, I mean, we all know what this stuff is already. Like you already know. You watch the videos every day. Everybody's calling it out and talking about it. But that, like, the missing component here, what nobody understands. I was watching a thing on my way home today. It was about the Iranian pilot got shot down. I think it was on Google. I flipped Google open to ask a question about a location of something, and I saw the article there. And it was, you know, or somebody sent it to me. Maybe I think maybe somebody sent me in it a message. I get a lot of messages on videos like this, but it was this Ratcliffe guy talking. Yeah, it was somebody sent it. Ratcliffe is talking about how they located the pilot that got shot down in Iran, and they said they got powerful electromagnetic energy weapons and locating devices and stuff that nobody would understand anywhere, right? And just like the directed energy weapons, I'm going to tell you, It doesn't work that way, man. All of the people that sold all of these markets to all of these different countries, right? How did they get the beepers to blow up on everybody? They sold them that shit. They didn't know what was in there, exploding and whatever, right? Was it Lebanon or something? I think it was Lebanon. But it's through the smart network. It's through the smart network where you're located. So I'm certain of certain parts of this. I'm not saying that the energy weapons don't exist, but the ones that you don't know about, they'll tell you, yeah, we could do it from 50 miles away because they want you to be scared to fucking death about the whole topic, right? It's from the network. It's from the network being intertwined inside of that network. You're in Wi-Fi range, you're in Bluetooth range, all of that stuff. That's what the entire smart grid was about. The Lahaina fires, right? How do you? Well, if you go and you look up what are the capabilities of smart meters, you'll find out that you can remotely overload a house's electrical grid, right? And you can also take away the power and put it back into the grid if, like, say, late at night there's somebody sleeping. That's what they claimed. But I did a whole bunch of reading about it, and guess what, man? All of Lahaina, like I think 8 or 10 years previous to that fire, they pushed the smart meters on everybody there. Nobody questioned it. They just let them roll through and put these smart meters on their homes. Um, so that was another part of it. The earliest place in the United States that had smart meters on their houses is, guess where? That place in California that blew up in wildfires, right? Why are the plants all still alive, right? And everybody's saying, "Oh, it's the blue roofs," right? And so you're gonna stick your feet down in the trenches and argue it's the energy weapons and the blue roof. Like when I was there, I read that same stuff, right? And I'm not denying that that happened, right? But at the same time, you have to look at this other availability, right? You can do all of this stuff. You've got a smart grid everywhere, right? You can decide, all right, well, we don't want Austin, Texas there anymore. Let's get rid of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Everybody there will move to blah blah blah, right? And so they keep on decimating these places, not just to destroy them. Some of them they want to rebuild, right? So build back better. You got to fuck it up first, right? And what are they doing? They're creating weather anomalies. They're bombarding the sky with rain and whatever else, and um, what do you have after the flood destroys the infrastructure of the town where you live? Is you have nothing left to buy but smart devices, only smart things, right? So that's another big point behind it is to change the markets, and then when people have to go back into the markets to reacquire whatever it is to replace the infrastructure they had already. Well, we don't have those old sewage systems anymore. These are the smart ones. We don't have the old underground electrical transit, whatever. I mean, whatever it is, they're integrating it into the smart network. So that's my big point on all of it. The digital future, this smart stuff, all of it is aggregated data, every last bit of it. But this book will explain any questions you have about it. I'll tell you what might not be in here is the whole idea about graphene. That's where I landed with the whole graphene thing, and trying to figure out why are they putting it in everything, including the vaccines and whatever else, right? And what I came up with is like it's the shittiest part of it. Like I'm not afraid of AI at all. I don't care about AI. I care. It is invasive. It is learning me. It is creating my digital twin. Um, so it is achieving all of these things, but not even half as effectively as when graphene is in and on everything. Right? That's real time spatial telemetry, spatial data, spatial. I mean, this is where Sabrina Wallace is sharp as shit. She knows all these words like right on the tip of her tongue. I don't. But it's it's aggregated data. It's where things are at and how they move, including your emotions. Signature. It's an EMF signature. As I said at the beginning of this video, it's all about energy, frequency, and vibration. At the core, you get sick, it started with energy, frequency, and vibration. It's not the parasites. Your body has been made electromagnetically unhealthy, like the trees and the boreworms. Your body has been knocked into this, unhealthy um, existence, and it's imbalanced, and so parasites have a place to go. You're not creating the proper antibodies or whatever, right? um it's just it's kind of sickening now, right? But once you get through and you see the truth in all of this stuff that way, so my God, well, I'm not afraid of it. Now I know what I need to look for. Get the fucking smart meter off my house. Don't stop buying the smart infrastructure shit. Don't pay for Bitcoin and fluff up their digitized prison that they're about to create. You're giving them the money that they use our money to do all this stuff. The data centers, we're going to pay for them. Like that's literally how it's working. By your electric company raping you. Um, so it's it sounds dire and negative and miserable, but coming to the point where you know the truth about it all, you've got a freedom in that. You know where not to be, you know what not to do, and you have to bring the population to a place where everybody understands it clearly and just opts out. No, I don't want your fucking smartwatch, man. Like that's where we all got to get there. We all got to get there. And it's the people with the suits are the last people that anybody should be listening to. Any suits at all. You're at work, you're big rich stockbroker boss, blah blah blah. You're not going to make the same money. Well, money is the method by which they travel, right? They use the money to advance all their stuff. I'm not saying it's like a vampiric thing, right? The money is the tool that is used to manipulate the population. Right? You have to render the money obsolete. So how that gets done, I don't know. People. I mean, there's a lot of different things that could happen here. Um, Anarchy would be a beautiful thing at this point. I'd way prefer that over what we're watching. So I don't know. I don't see any comments there again. Oh, now they're back. All right. Biodigital convergence. I got harassed when I refused the smart meter. This was like 4 years ago. Yeah. I would have been firing pellet guns at them. I'd have been shooting them in their face for my fucking hedges. That's. I hate these people, man. Was made 6 years ago. What was made 6 years ago? The book. They were rolling out smart water meters here in Australia. Yeah, there's a really good video about that California fire and what you were talking about. Oh, with the smart stuff? Get out. Oh, wow. Look, I can invite people here. So I just subscribed to Julie. I don't know who you are, really. Are you on my Facebook, Julie? You're not Julie Ooley, are you? Fancy Pants. I'm curious who that is, too. I didn't question the smart meters either. Regretting that. Yeah, it's all the self-monitoring, assessment, and reporting technology. It's all the way across the board in all of it. Like 100%. But that's how they isolate and integrate and blah blah blah. I bring this whole thing to fruition for the globalists, right? It's telling you that the weapon is capable of 1,000,000 miles away when it's right here in my goddamn face. It's right here. I'm looking at the weapon, right? That's the crazy part, and that's how their trickery works. They'll tell you the sky and the space is endless. It's the Zionist regime, right? It's the Zionist regime. It's everything that they do is because they control the books that are printed for you to read. They control, the places you go to vacation and what you're allowed to learn. You go to Egypt. You can't go there. So, what in the ancient world they're primitive, right? What in the ancient world under their circumstances. Oh, they didn't know shit. They were useless. They're a bunch of cavemen, dumb as hell, right? But they built that goddamn thing that's like big and gigantic out of, right? They built a friggin' pyramid that we still don't understand, And I'm not far off there. I'm telling you right now. I know. I mean, I'm going to do some videos for the paid people on my explanation of the stars being created by the pyramids. That's a great topic. I mean, that's a great topic, and I'm so happy that I found that. I mean, I kind of care if I don't get the credit for that somehow, but you have to understand the depth in that conversation. Like literally, all of it physically works. And I landed in a good place, reading all this kind of shit and figuring out why and who and where did they come from and how did it start and da 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 da. Well, find out that, it's me they're after. The red-haired people that won't lay down and just take whatever. A great bridge? What do you mean? Got harassed when I refused the smart meter. That was like 4 years ago. Didn't I just read that? I did. You were a wizard. I'm a wizard. I love that term. I think it's awesome, man. Yeah. I see things now. I was just having a conversation with somebody today about that. In Canada, they started forcing the whole country into smart meters. Yeah. They could turn off your entire area, blow it up, get rid of you. They got us good on the education. Says, yeah, for sure. Inside out, upside down, man. All of it. Every last bit of it. Bathtub time? Oh, yeah. Me too. I like baths. I'm a Calgon guy. So wild and wonderful, weird wizard. Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of it, right? Like magic is not what you think. I just started these Julius Evola books. He's like an old. They called this the group. UR. He's a member of this cult-like initiatic school thing in Italy. He died in the year that I was born, like just before I was born. I actually made a post about him on my Facebook. Um, and I said I think I'm the reincarnation of this guy because the other book that I bought of his was The Revolt Against the Modern World. You got to read that book, man. He's talking about all the shit we're going through right now. You're him. I'm telling you, man. The guy, Julie says, you're him. I'm telling you, you got to look this guy's books up, man. Um, so yeah, I mean, I was explaining this to somebody earlier, all of it, but I actually made a prayer. Like I made an inward prayer and I said, if I got to be used like Jesus, so be it, but I want to help humanity get the fuck out of what we're getting hit with here. And ever since I just started seeing shit, I see it clear. You have his book right in front of you. Oh yeah, Julius Evola. The guy is brilliant, man. But we wouldn't know any of these things at all without these esotericists, man. Like if you want to get into like right down into the nuts of like why everything is happening the way that it's happening, it's because these people are able to sway your mind with illusion, right? It's the most incredible, like it's illusion. It's you are the enemy, right? That's the big part in all of it is you are the enemy to yourself, right? Yeah, that's the hardest part to swallow. I made a post on here last night about becoming nothing, but becoming nothing, then you can, at that point, you can then experience everything. And, I think that's just, and I was reading that guy's book, when I came to that, but it's something about it's magic, basically a three-part trilogy of the introduction to magic is what it's called. And under their terms, what magic really is just a matter of spirituality, not being swayed, understanding things for the reality that they actually came from, from the actuality of the way that things came from, revolt against the modern world. That's it. Yeah. Um, my poem. Thank you, Steph. Yeah. But you've got to get to that point, right? Like you have to drop. I'm a politician. I'm a Republican. I'm this, I'm that. And those people over there, I have to blame them. It's the fucking Jews. It's the fucking Jesuit. Like even when you call them out for who they actually are, I mean you're still driven to your hi Sarah. Um but you're still driven to those extremes on your hatred for that opposition to whatever you believe is right. So what is right? Not killing. Read the 42 laws of Ma'at from ancient Egypt. Read all of them. That's the way that they lived before they were taken over by these people. The whatever you want to call them. They said they were Semitic people back then. Drop the ego and admit we were all lied to about most everything. No doubt. Yeah, I mean, I literally had to build back from Egypt forward. I mean, even Mesopotamia. They say that Mesopotamia is older than Egypt. There's no fucking way, man. That's the thing that gives credence to the Bibles the way that they do. So the moment you can break that in you and find out the truth, like wow, ancient Egypt is way way older. 42 laws. of Ma'at, Ma'at. So it's somebody who lives in reverie, like ma'am. When you say yes, ma'am, it comes from that Ma'Am. It's like a queen, you would say ma'am, or nobility, you would say ma'am. But because they were in divinity, you would say the word ma. The word ma'at is where that is derived from. But that was to live in divine harmony and you utilize divine justice. To keep balance in all things. Right. It's all ego and the human condition for survival. Yeah, I mean, and that's the real ugly part where we're at now. We don't look further than our souls, right? That's what Christianity is built around. It's not about the people near you that you should be caring for, right? It's about you. Don't you help those people over there, your soul is going to go to heaven, right? You help those people over there, yeah, it may go to heaven, but like, all right, so I'm trying to explain how it's inverted, and I'm not doing a good job of it, but we're trained to worry about our souls getting to heaven. We're not thinking about everybody else. But that drives this selfishness. The selfishness is where um, that's where so much stuff is lost. I drive down the road. If I see somebody's garbage can is blown out, yeah, and fear based, yeah, for sure. But somebody's garbage can is blown out into the street, right? It might be a little old lady. It might be an old crippled man. It might be a 25-year-old a bodybuilder. For it doesn't matter to me, right? Like I stop, I pull over, I'll go get the trash can and put it back in front of their house or whatever, right? Because it's number one, it's smoothing up the traffic. It's something that this guy's not going to have to do is go and buy a new trash can because he got blasted by a 50-mile-an-hour car or whatever, right? But you're doing the right thing is the point, right? And to just do those kinds of things, um, that's what our society lost, and that's what's being played on is that service to self, right? My soul's okay. I got all the money I need. My household will be fantastic, right? And I don't give a fuck what the neighbor's doing over there. And that's the society that we have allowed to grow in place of what our ancestors did. So, Bruiser, you're not a Bruiser from Nanacoke, are you? Great to hear you. We're at Uluru on Works. Thanks, mate, for your teachings. It's my pleasure. Oh no, I know that picture. Integrity, yeah, and I mean that's the big part. That's the real big part that we're all missing. Uh, we don't look into this cosmic balance thing, right? And that was like I always bring it up. I don't know if any of you guys have heard me say it before, but that was the true reason behind Ma'at was that in your purity in your existence. This is where the Jesus teachings come in, right? Um, but him learning in Alexandria and all that stuff, all of the Essenes that were killed, for not believing that somebody else should rule their spirituality. Um, but the rule, the whole point behind Ma'at was to contribute to everything around you, to not do any harm anywhere you go, to not kill, right? And what do we do? The entire population. Let's go to Burger King. Let's go to McDonald's. I don't care what animals died. You're getting some kind of meat from something that might have died in whatever, right? So you're putting yourself uh, in in the realm, the environment of not living in purity because you've decided not to want to know where that meat came from. So there's a introspection and perfecting oneself, beneficial for all. Bruce is my dog's best meat. Oh, um, so I mean, when you start to go into the spiritual sides of wizardry, the knowing the truth behind things, knowing that there's always been a technology that the average man was never meant to know, right? Like once you start to understand that everything is frequency and vibration and all that, at that point, oh, I should have been living my life different, right? My soul is Biggest weapon is the globe model and evolution theory, which disconnects us all. Yeah, because I mean, you're constantly like you have to rely on their scientists, then and that's why I push that so hard. I don't. I mean, I want to people to argue with me about flat Earth. I want them to come on my page, and I want them to argue with me about it. Only because it allows me to showcase what I've learned through history, not through the science. The whole bullshit story about Eratosthenes and all of that stuff, but that's the removal of self. If you don't know where you live, you don't even know where physics begins. You don't know what math actually is. You don't know the origins of anything. You believe that the earth is a globe in outer space. All of your reality began in falsehood, right? You don't understand that there's only like they've taken that out of you, the ability to defend your position. What position? I don't even know where the fuck I live, right? And that's the part where all these people have, with the globe stuff are really trapped. They don't get that, they're stuck there. They're stuck there. Um, So this says I could bring people on in the middle of the video. If anybody's interested, let me know. I'd have a conversation with you in public. That's cool. Um, so I don't see. There's not very many people in this live. How many are in there? 20. That's pretty good for being a new place and all that stuff. This is a free one, I think. All these people aren't paid. Ooh, I made it live. You're a bit late. I'm gonna repost it on Facebook a couple days from now, probably. Never believed that in the school. That's why I struggled in school. I hated it. Listening, getting ready to get to work. Oh, are you in Australia as well? That's like tomorrow there, isn't it? That's wild. But I guess that's all I have for tonight. I don't know what else to say. There's so many good books. I mean, I want to do a thing on the paid group. I want to get a book club thing going, and I don't know how, but hold up to my intellect. I'm listen. I could talk to janitors. I could talk to plumbers. I could talk to anybody, man. Doctors, pharmacists, you name it. I can talk to them. When did I start? About an hour ago, I think. I think it was just about 10 minutes after 6. I'm kind of beat today. I got a migraine from the shit they're spraying on us today. I could see it clear as day, and every time they do it, I get a fucking headache, and it's killing me, man. I know I gotta start curbing the language too. I apologize for the people that are sensitive to it. I love the F bomb. It's my favorite word. What else do you do? I can't shoot anybody and take the world back. I can't fight. Thought it was 7. Yeah, they're doing the same stuff here. Yeah, I mean, they bombarded me today. I was working. I just out of nowhere, bam. Like I could feel it immediately. But it usually takes about 24 hours for the damn headache to go away. I think they're giving us brain damage, man. I think they're giving us brain damage with whatever these things are. And again, we're going into the whole isotope thing that I started before. Don't know if I finished or not, but you've got aluminum in your body, all of those frequencies throughout the earliest part of this live. Um, Thanks, William. Um, Louisiana and Georgia has been heavy. But that isotope thing, right? Them getting shit into your body and you being around these frequencies that you think are all right, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and whatever else, the shortwave, whatever. It's the stuff they have in you, man. It's all of those isotopes. I think tomorrow, the next time I do a video, maybe on Sunday, I'm supposed to do a live video. This was supposed to be for the paid members. I'm having a hard time figuring out what to give the paid members over the free members, but I don't want to be stuck in that position really. But I am having schematics drawn up on the old Cloudbuster paint cans. So those are going to be public, but the new ones are going to be for I think members only. I'm going to make that members only because they're going to be pretty sophisticated in in the way that they are constructed. The magnets have to be in a particular polarity. Um, so there's a lot more there. And man, this headache is freaking killing me. But those schematics should be printable, and I just want to see a lot of people start making them. A lot of people start making them everywhere. I mean, everybody needs them, and there's people saying, "Oh, I can't afford them." Because I mean, like what I'm doing this time. If you want me to make them, I'm only making this type, right? And they're going to be more expensive. So I was going to charge $275 plus shipping, right? That's a ridiculous amount of money. But I went and I looked at copper the other day, and the quartz crystal places are all shutting down. Paint cans went up a couple of bucks. I'm like, I'm not getting stuck. Last time I ate about $1,500 just trying to get all these things out to everybody, and I still came up short by like 3 people. And I said, I'm just not doing it anymore. They started getting shitty and like trying to make me look like I'm a bad person, whatever else. I said, you'll get them the next time I make a batch. It might be next summer, But I broke down, and I apologized to those people. But at the same time, like the shit that the way that they handle it all, I was in a rough spot over the summer or over the winter, and it wasn't that I ripped them off. It's just they're waiting a little bit longer for the antics, I think. Um, so, I put that price up that high because if I have to go through my time on top of my regular job to make these damn things, I'm not going in the reverse again. I'm telling you, I suffered last time. The hours, the time putting them out. I mean, I still have boxes and Look at this. I have boxes and boxes. There's ones that are done. I've got crystals all over the place, paint cans all over the place, all the copper wire for them all. I've got all these boxes. Those are literally those are all packed and ready to go. The kits, but I owe a couple to the people there, so those are theirs. And it gets real hard to do as a one man show. I had a couple of boys. My son was helping me for a little bit, and one of his friends from school. He's been working with us for a couple of years now, and um, it was a little bit easier. But when I couldn't depend on them anymore because of the school and all that stuff, uh, finding the time outside of my job for these monster ones that I'm going to be putting together are 275. I'm not doing the cheap ones. I put those on my page on Facebook on purpose. I have the directions for putting them together. They'll work. Um, the old model will work fine. The new model has the punch of about 4 of them because of the directions of the magnets and everything. So they're like a legitimate radio force generating thing. I mean, it's serious. Um, well, I can't ship it to Australia, William. There's a guy over by you that can. You are in Australia, I think, right? Didn't you just say that? Um, but putting them together is not that hard. The paint can itself, just as a paint can, with a couple, with a couple of pipes sticking out of it. Um, I mean, it'll cost you $120, and you'll be doing a service to you and yourself and all your neighbors around you. But you can also, and that's another thing with the paid group with that new thing, you can charge whatever you want to charge. But I want to teach everybody how to make these things in the paid group, and these assholes I'm telling you, I have a video from today, right? And I actually put in the video. I started singing "Somebody's Watching Me," and I wasn't going to post it because I was singing like an idiot. But it was a little black helicopter, and there was a white helicopter of the same sort. The small militarized little wing things. Um, but in both places where I know that the most paint cans are at around me, like so, we've got about 25 of them up altogether from my location to about 40 miles north of me. the entire river is covered. So they're not able to flood this river out in front of my house. Um, 30 inches for the central pipe, 12 inches short. I don't know what your questions are. Um, but those helicopters are here all the time. I've had the Air Force come straight to my house from Maryland, do a hairpin turn around the airspace that I have up above, and head straight north. Like literally, did a horseshoe, came back to my property, and went to the north in the opposing direction. But they know that there's a disruption in the sky, and these are, basically the right term to call them would be it's a scalar wave generating, um, atmospheric harmonizer, really, is what it would be. You're harmonizing the atmosphere. So, like here is the Wilhelm Reich and the healing of atmospheres. See? This is for making clouds, for making rain. He was making rain. That's what the government took from him. He was making rain. I've reversed it. When you go to the museum, you see it, you're like, why did he have to have the hoses to the water? I don't understand. You have that book? Yeah, it's a good book. It explains though. It explains it in there, just in a reverse fashion. So that's what they hide. They'll tell you, oh, organite pyramids with all kinds of shit and a whole bunch of copper and metal shavings. Just make sure you wrap it all up real tight with a poly-based insulatory compound of some sort so that none of those things can vibrate. They won't tell you that part, right? It'll give you half truth. You can build it whatever you want, and that's what I was fighting with that guy about last summer, that fucking Napoleon blown apart guy or whatever his name was on Instagram that blocked me. I was fighting with him. They have to be grounded. Like, what the fuck? I'm trying to explain. You're charging. Somebody told me he was charging people 300 pounds. Right? I don't know what pounds are, but I think it's like $2 or $3 in the United States. So that means that would be what, $800-900 for a fucking cloudbuster? Exactly what you've always thought. I don't know what you mean. Oh, you can't see your text while you're typing. Yeah, so I just knew that guy was full of shit, and it was pissing me off because he was taken. That's why he was arguing with me. Like, what? The guy is such a piece of shit. But that was the whole thing, was about him losing money, is why that whole thing went that way. And I've got a really big design. Like, I have a huge design that I want to make. It's so bad. I don't have the time right now, and I don't know what to put it in. But I've got them beat, man. They're beat. They are fucking beat, and I know it. All the things just disappeared again. I have no comments there again now. Can you guys still hear me? Well, I'm going to end it anyways. But wow, that's weird. They all dumped out. The entire group just dumped out. Says there's nobody there, so I don't know. Is there anybody there? What is this shit? Yeah, I guess Facebook owns this one too. No escape, huh? Can't refresh it or anything. I don't know what the fuck is going on. So they killed it. I have it recorded. I'm going to put it on Facebook in a couple of days, anyways. So I'll see you guys. Just wanted you to understand the, surveillance capitalism. AI doesn't stand a chance without graphene coding everything. So the graphene is in those things up there. Biological agents, e-fuels. Look up what are the e-fuels by Exxon and Shell. Look it all up, man. Look it all up. I'm not going to say I'm perfectly correct. I'm going to say that I'm definitely not wrong about that part of it. So, all right, man. It was real nice talking with you guys. See you next time. Sunday, I think I'm going to do another video. All right. If I can figure out how to get out of here, it won't let me out. What the fuck? How weird. Now I can't get out.